See that you're born an Italian if you want your life to be great. See that you're born an Italiano and your life will be great.
How about some Donadell?
That's a nice.
Hey there, Paisani, and welcome back to another episode of the Italian American Podcast. I'm John Viola, along with my partner in crime, the Italian American Wikipedia, Mr. Patrick O'Boyle. We are here at the corner of Mulberry and Grand and the heart of Little Italy, Red Sauce Studio, the crossroads of Italian America. And winter is approaching. It's fall. It's crisp. And we've got some old friends with us today. They've come back to the podcast after being on in episode 211, so quite a long while ago now. They are the husband and wife team behind not only the incredible power team, the incredible restaurant Don Angie here in New York City, but also the phenomenal cookbook Italian American, and now a brand new restaurant, which we will let them tell you guys about because it's close to the heart of many of us who find our roots in the great town of Sanza. So we have Scott and Angie. Welcome back to the Italian American Podcast. It's nice to be in person finally.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Well,
it's great to be back.
Love the studio.
Thank
Amazing.
you very much.
Really cool.
This is a trip into John's brain. If you want to know what John's brain looks like,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
After my wife cleans it out. That's what my brain looks like. Yeah.
we should
it's
have a
cleaned up.
before and after. Like if Nicole comes in, there'll be nothing here. There won't even be a
Should be
nail.
whitewashing everything. Yeah, it'd
Yeah.
be really bad. Yeah. Nikki, our producer, was I was saying before offline, he came to our house to join me when we drove up to meet you at Villa Roma. And he said, I thought you were always lying about how little stuff was in your house, but it's really just a white box. I was like, yes, it's really just a white box. That's it. That's my house.
That's Nicole's branding.
That's her branding, yeah. And this is mine.
See, can I reveal the big secret? What's really going on here? This is a Sanzese power play today.
Yeah, you're excited about that.
Because
you
it's
root for
a
Sanza.
small town with a lot of impact.
Very true.
You and Sabino. You're like a trinity. You're like a
And
little
Michela,
triangle.
yeah. For a small town of 2,500 people, it's produced a lot here in the United States.
Yeah.
Because your family's also Sanzi, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. My grandfather's name was Sabino. So we named our new restaurant San Sabino after him, Saint Sabino. He was also born on the feast on March 13th.
Oh, wow, it's huge.
So
That's a big deal.
that's, yeah.
We actually opened the restaurant totally randomly, basically the day before that, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like,
Just
There are
randomly.
no coincidences.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, there is no coincidence.
See, my goal today is to have you all spit in the tube. Because if you were all related, that would be so much better for the narrative.
With a small town like that, it's
You have
pretty
to
easy
be. You
kinda have to be,
related.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
But if we could have it on paper.
I mean, I
could
don't
start
think you
the
even need the
narrative.
tube. I think the family
Yeah, I
tree.
need,
People
I
have
need
said to me-
documentation.
Yeah,
I need to,
it's
I
pretty
need to
easy.
see
People
science.
people are convinced that the you-Sabino relationship is based on a Baisan interwoven. People gone to, we knew it was going to happen. They're Baisans.
It is amazing to think about the interrelatedness of everything. And it's what a great way to honor that and your grandfather and the name. Tell us about the new place.
So it's like, I don't know, how would you describe it, Angie? It's like our...
What is it? We opened Don Angie 7 years ago, and San Sabino just opened in March of this year, and so there's like a 7-year period where we didn't really do anything new creatively. Like Don Angie, there's like a lot of staples on the menu. It's kind of hard for us to make a lot of changes there. So at San Sabino, it's kind of like it's like an evolution of our cuisine. I think it's kind of like an opportunity for us to be. I think we're like a little more creative with some of the plays we do there. It's a little more playful than Don Angie. But there's also like a seafood focus to it as well. So
It's interesting. I never thought about that, right? Because when last time we talked, and I've been to the restaurant, it's one of my wife's favorites. You've got here, you very graciously brought your famed lasagna here, which is tempting all of us. But when you guys did this, it was very novel. It was very creative, right? It made a big splash. But now, 7 years later, if you took it off your menu, they would chase you out of your own restaurant, right? I mean, do you get sort of handcuffed by your success when you do something like this?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you said it exactly like it is. That's the reason why we opened the restaurant next door. We actually opened the restaurant in a very historic space. So the space was a burrito store for 40 years.
Yeah, Benny's Burrito.
Benny's Burritos, which was like a very big like West Village kind of
I've never
landmark
been.
spot.
Actually, I may have been now that you say that. I got to think through my brain. Maybe one of
We
my.
meet a lot of New Yorkers that
Yeah.
like have
Yeah.
just crazy old
They
stories.
went on their
from
first
there.
date at
Yeah.
Benny's Burritos.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You know.
It sounds familiar, but the West Village was never an area that I like hung around in, so I didn't get a lot of exposure to that kind of stuff. I was always down here.
Yeah.
It's like my comfort zone here around Little Italy and stuff. I don't know. I've always liked it. I swear. But you took over Benny's Burritos, 40-year-old institution. You bring it up to date with this sort of more creative seafood. What differentiates the cuisine? What's the novelty now?
What's the novelty? Well, we have a couple. Like, what's the dish? What's the draw? You think?
Yeah, like what do you feel? What were you creatively excited about?
I am obsessed with shrimp parm.
Oh, that sounds great.
To the point that like people don't even really. I didn't realize like how many people don't know shrimp parm and have never seen it. I mean, you guys have seen it.
One of his
around.
favorites, right? That's one of your favorites.
There was a
I can't
restaurant
get a read, but
in North Arlington that was their specialty, and I think it's the champion flag of the Italian American cuisine, which is attacked by Italians in Italy.
Yeah.
But I think that it's
Oh, yeah.
it's like if we had to put it on a flag with the rainbow cookie, like the American flag has like what they call it, the jack where the blue and the white stars are. I would put a rainbow cookie, and I would put the shrimp parm. But I think shrimp parm, it breaks every Italian rule.
Yes,
it has cheese. Every rule that they have, you can't do with fish.
Yeah.
And I think it's even more offensive than the chicken cutlet to them, than the chicken parm.
I agree. I think that's why we love it so
Yeah.
much.
But
That
it's
should be
good.
a T-shirt.
It's really
It's
good.
damn
though.
good.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
You don't want to admit that you like it, but you like it. That's the thing.
That's a specialty.
And it
Yeah,
blows
but
my
we're saying
mind
that because they conditioned us. What do you call that? Stockholm syndrome does?
Right.
In our defense, right? Because we're bombed here so often by the Italians from Italy, especially northern Italy. They come in like hornets to attack us. We could say this is water, and then, no, it's not water. You do not understand water. It's not water. So they come in, they like, it's like, ever see those movies of Pearl Harbor? And you're on the deck of the ship, just getting like some fresh air, and you see all these planes, and they're going to bomb you, but they're not there yet. You got like a 5-second mental, like, to take that breath before the bombs drop. But I'm going to say this. If you look at old Neapolitan paintings, right, sketches, I don't use the correct word, from like the 1840s, right, when macaroni, a.k.a. dried pasta, we got to use the new words now, was a street food, right, was before the tomato began to become the champion, before they became publicly married, right, and they boiled it, they put cheese with clams.
Really?
So grated cheese, like now the other thing is that the cheese was the cheese was like in Sorrento called pezzotella, which was like it's kind of like a stepbrother to ricotta salad, right? So they used the pecorino romano, right, with the black skin, the rind. That's the thing that fancy people use, because back then they weren't making it in Sardinia and calling it pecorino romano. It was actually made in Lazio, and they would buy it, right? But the common people used a thing that was kind of like ricotta salata, right, which was
like a farmer's cheese kind of thing.
yeah, you make it like a ricotta salata, then you actually put it in like scamozzi, you put it in like a saltwater brine solution, and it comes out dried, and that was put on spaghetti with clams thrown on. So you had clams, you'd boil the spaghetti in these big cauldrons, and then you would throw some grated cheese on it if you wanted to kind of go a little bit upscale. You'd have the clams, the clam sauce, the sautéed clams, because you're in Naples, you're right by the water, right? You can get them right there, and a little bit of this grated cheese. Now, if you want to say that this rule of no cheese is a progression, an advancement, an amelioration of the original, I can tolerate that because that's a fact. You could say you used to do it this way, but it's better without the cheese. But to act like it never happened and we invented this is a lie. It's a historical lie, and we're here to destroy lies.
We're here for truth.
That's it. I'm done. You could talk for the
We're here
rest.
for
I'm
seafood
done.
truth.
Talk about Sanza, Ohio. Whatever. We're here for truth but I'm saying we stand behind you because they can't back this up.
I appreciate the support.
I know.
Also, I don't care if it ever existed. Like, I feel like what we do is like, we break a lot of rules, and it's not that I don't, I appreciate and respect like Italian traditions, but we're just trying to make
There was
food
some
taste
guy
good,
in
and we're
Naples
just trying-
in 1780, about the time of the American Revolution, who decided he was going to go mainstream with the tomato. And that was revolutionary. We know the tomato was considered poisonous. The tomato had a bad rap when it came to Italy from Mexico, right? And the minestra maridata, which I said a lot on the earlier episodes, the wedding soup was what we had on a Sunday. A piece of pork that was dried, a dried supersada salami sliced up with some greens. That was their Sunday meal. The gravy, sauce, whatever ragu came in and displaced that. That's a fact. But somebody had the nerve, the courage. We have to find that man who said, like the Wright brothers of the tomato. I'm going to go and take the tomato and I'm going to make that step. But you are in that tradition. What would have happened if Columbus had brought back ginger? How would Italy have changed if Italy had ginger?
Yeah, sure.
Right? They took the kiwi from Australia. Now it has an EGP in Lazio, right? So when it's convenient, they can change things, right? The secret in the closet is the tomato.
Yeah.
Who was that man?
What are people giving you a hard time about it?
Oh no.
Doesn't give me a hard time.
People have never heard of shrimp parm. They're just like, what is this shrimp parm
Right.
thing? They don't understand it.
But definitely Italians, true Italians, that think that we're trying to create like regional or say that we're doing regional
Yeah.
Italian cuisine here, which we're not. We're
not.
literally doing something that's antithetical to that. People, won't understand it.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to explain myself when real Italians come into the restaurant, even if they don't even have that perspective. I'm like, no, you don't understand this. And they're like, it's cool,
You hedge
it's
your
cool,
bets, right?
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
like-
my grandma used to kind of freak out a little bit
Yeah.
about some of the, she's like, no, you can't, she's like.
Let me ask you a question. Does shrimp parm exist in Ohio, or did it exist?
No, I've never seen shrimp parm.
So
till
it's
I
a
moved
New
to the
York
East
thing.
and New Jersey.
I think it's
a
like
New
a New Jersey
Probably
thing.
Jersey.
It's probably
Yeah.
Even better. That's why it deserves to be.
It's really
I mean,
elevated.
I grew up and my dad was always ordering we would always order pizza every Sunday, and he would always order one large cheese pizza, well done, and then he would order like a meatball hero or order like a veal parm, and then I remember the one day he goes, well, it's not really veal, it's just pounded pork. And I'm like, really? I'm like, I thought it was veal. He's like, no, they can't. It's $5. It's not veal. And then he started getting shrimp parm heroes, and that was like his thing. And I remember eating it, being like, wow, this is really good. This is.
Yeah.
And I've always just been obsessed with it ever since. And I think it's about in New York City, 50% of the red sauce restaurants have it. I think.
Is that
Would
right?
you say?
Wow.
There's some places that don't have it. That
You'll
don't.
see-
that
I mean, there's a
don't make it.
lot that do. I feel like there's a whole section where it's like,
I mean, they make it at Jeans. You guys have been to Jeans, I'm sure, right?
I've never been
Jeans
to
on
Jeans.
10th.
No.
You guys
Oh,
have
really?
never been there?
Never
Oh
been
my
to Jeans.
God.
I know.
I
I
live
live
in
in
Shelter
man.
Life.
It's the
I don't
oldest
want
Italian
to-
restaurant in New York City.
Oh, he'll be there tonight. Nothing he loves more. He'll run
I
there.
wish
You'll
I
get.
could
You'll
be
get
there
the. You'll
tonight.
call the cab immediately. You're gonna stop and
It's
we gotta
great.
go.
I've passed. I've seen it. I've never
I mean,
been.
you gotta go.
We love
Thanks
It's
to
like
you.
going back in time.
I
Is it
owe
really?
you a huge
Yeah.
public
Loved it,
debt that
yeah.
I have to publicly thank you.
Why?
Because you dragging me to all those red sauce joints in New York. So many have closed now.
Yeah.
That I can say I was here and I was there
Yeah.
and that was thanks to you.
I mean, Forlini's right here, though.
Yeah. We
That
lost
place was amazing.
That was great. And it had a little
Again,
bit of a
another
revival
time,
too.
Another
Yeah.
time capsule kind of.
People were like into. Yeah, it was a time
Yeah.
capsule. I mean, the booths like this and stuff. People were into it. It got great, and then
the
COVID
boots were
came.
pink
and
though. They
were
weren't red.
Yeah, I don't
They were
remember.
like mauve pink.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was an
because,
amazing place.
because like you guys are on another level. Like you're real serious professional chefs.
I mean, I don't
You
know
got a
about
Michelin
that, but-
star.
I mean,
Right,
you
I mean,
are. I mean,
that's
it's,
like-
it's, the fact again. The fact is,
Oh, sorry. You could lose a Michelin star.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
who knows?
they're French. They probably pulled.
They
those
don't like
stars.
Italian restaurants anyway.
No, they don't
That's
like
it.
them.
So
See, if I
But-
had one once, I just say I have a Michelin. Who gives a shit? I mean, you always have it. You
How do
earned
you,
this.
how do you
were-
revoke that?
that's the best thing about it. Everybody still thinks you have it.
Exactly. Yeah. Give me a break.
Did
file a
you like scientifically like? Is there one kind of shrimp that's the best for shrimp parm, like an extra large shrimp or a shrimp from the Gulf? Like, did you guys do all that, or is it like a universal shrimp?
Well, we're using the thing with most parm dishes is they're never really like nice to look at, right? The same thing with lasagna. So when we came up with this lasagna, we were like, we want to make it like appealing to the eye, but also taste delicious. It ends up this thing is so genius. It's not really lasagna. It's rotolo, right? That's what you would call it in Italy. But like we call it lasagna, and it's easy to serve. Every part gets crispy. It's super light because of the way it's. So we're like, how can we make shrimp parm kind of like the same way? So we use big head-on shrimp, so it kind of looks really like striking when you see it. The shrimp are delicious. These really big U5, so it's like really meaty.
So you think
I
the
think you
big
need a
shrimp
meaty
is the
shrimp.
king?
you need
Yeah.
a meaty shrimp. You need a meaty shrimp. We
You need the
butterfly it.
texture. I feel like, the textural contrast, because, it's a lot of sauce and cheese and, melty stuff. Like, you need some sort of
And then we make it a little different where the sauce is like a really like we call it like a sweet and sour arrabbiata sauce.
Yeah.
We put a lot of vinegar in the sauce, so it's like
You put vinegar in.
Yeah.
A ton of garlic, like an
Lot of
egregious amount
garlic.
of garlic, sliced thin.
vinegar.
They would kill
We
you
use
in
Thai
Italy.
basil.
Yeah.
They would shoot you at the
I mean,
end.
it's like-
We're here to liberate you. We're up in the Sierras.
But I'm very proud
I
of the
feel
fact
liberated,
that
though.
a lot of successful young Italian Americans in your business have declared themselves Italian American places, right? Like nobody's taking any claim to Italian regional cuisine. It's like, no, this is ours, and here we are doing an elevated, fun, experimental version of it. That's what an arrival for us, to think that this is the cookbook's named Italian American, like it's ours.
I think the regional Italian kind of had its moment in
Yeah.
New York where I came to New York and everybody was like, "What is this food? I've never had this." And now it's kind of like it's you don't see it as much, and really like we just want to cook the food we want to cook. Creative. We use a lot of different ingredients. We use all sorts of ingredients from all over the world, but it always focuses back to something Italian American, something that like clicks in your head. Like when you eat it, reminds you of something when we were younger, and that's like how we always have done all of our food.
I feel like it took me a minute to like arrive at that though. Like when I first started cooking, I felt like, maybe I had to cook like French cuisine or
Yeah.
something, like years ago when I was younger, because at the time there wasn't really anyone, doing Italian American food. And I have to give all the credit. I worked at the original Teresi with Mario and Rich like back in the day. And that experience opened my eyes like, oh, okay, like, yeah, of course I could be proud of like my own heritage and like cook what I, grew up eating and what like speaks to me. So,
Same,
I mean,
yeah.
that's kind of like when I had a moment about that, but
So you guys, when you set out to do this, we were talking before, having a restaurant, and then a second one's having a second kid, right? It's all your responsibility and stuff. How did you make the decision that you wanted to expand? And then as a husband and wife team, what do you sit down at home and go like, what's the vision? You do like a mood board? Like where's what inspired this?
well, I mean, I think, we've all it's been 7 years. We've like, gone back and forth about whether we want to do another thing. Like we've been fortunate enough to have some kind of like opportunities to do so, but we were, a little tentative about, doing things in other cities or even doing things in other parts of New York, because it's just like, we are so physically tied to the restaurants and like to be there and like to know everyone's name, and just, that's kind of part of, if I'm speaking for
No,
myself.
I mean,
I mean, that's
what-
why we like doing what we do. So when the space right next door became available, we're like, oh, this is like obvious. We need to do this so we can literally be kind of like two places at once. But that being said, we're like, we can't just open, the same thing next door. Like, how are we going to differentiate it? And yeah, I think we just kept like tooling around. Like it took us a minute to kind of arrive at like what exactly we wanted to do, but we've just had like, we have like notebooks full of just like creative ideas that we've had over the years that we never really put into play. So we literally just like went back to our own notes, like, hey, what about this idea? Just kind of like went back and forth, and
And then it
I don't know,
ended
just
up
started-
being like a lot of fish on the menu,
Yeah.
and we both, we both eat a lot of. We both really like.
yeah.
fish,
So
and
we just
eat a lot
kind of
fish,
decided to
and
like
we're
lean
just
into
like-
that. Honestly,
yeah.
we were like, this is
And how can we make it slightly different than Don Angie, but similar? So yeah, and it has a cool like vibe where we're open for lunch now, because it has a very like the dining room is really interesting because it's yellow, which at first I was like, whoa, when I saw it, but it's for lunch it really like it has a great vibe for lunch because it's super like bright, and then at dinner it like glows, so it kind of like it's a great.
we work with the same
Yeah.
architects as Don Angie, so they're called GRT. So, I think they did a really great job. It's like it has the same DNA, like stylistically in the food and in the decor, but they feel different.
Yeah.
and it's a
some
little
ways, so
smaller,
Yeah.
It is,
which
a
is
little
like
bit
very
smaller.
anti what most people would do. Like
Sure.
most people would be like, Angie and I decided long ago we're not really chasing any sort of money.
We like to break
wanted to make
rules,
money, we
It's
would have
just,
done something else.
it's going against the
We
norm,
just
so.
opened a restaurant smaller, and
Yeah.
but it is what it is.
You're chasing creativity. You're
Yeah,
chasing
exactly.
Creative freedom. That's
Kinda
awesome. And that's what the best stuff is born out of, right? It's like the guy who, or woman who stumbled on the tomato and decided it wasn't poisonous. Like, that's the energy that you need, I think, to be, like you guys have been, an attractive brand. I hate to just use the word brand, but that's really what it is,
But
right?
you're saying in the best sense.
In the best sense, yeah.
The best sense.
Yeah, people are drawn to that. They're drawn to the. It's like we talk about this a lot with the show because we are who we are, right? We really are friends. We learned on the job doing this. And I think what people are drawn to is the genuine nature of that, right? And that's increasingly difficult to come by nowadays. Most people are just looking for money and like, how can I push as many chairs through a night? And you know what I mean? That's a big part of what's out there. So it's nice to feel like you're getting something really genuine. And it seems like you guys are still very passionate about it.
I mean, we definitely are. That's why we're there like every day, working with the cooks and talking to people, and just.
How does that? I have so many. Like, I would love to take Nikki and go behind the scenes because a restaurant like fascinates me.
Yeah.
So like, So how do you hire a chef? I mean, at your level, like, what are they like? Classically trained? Do you rather get somebody who's not and just teach them your way? Like, how do you become a chef in one of your restaurants?
Like cooks or
Or cooks? I don't even know the right words to use.
No, I
to
mean,
be honest with
there's
you.
like a bit of kind of.
Yeah, explain that because I don't know any of this. Like, teach us. Like
You're not behind the stove
chef
cooking
and a
every night, right?
Not
No.
typically, no, but we have a chef de cuisine. We have a CDC in each restaurant, Don Angie and San Sabino, and then we have.
But what does that mean, the chef de cuisine? Is he like the head chef? That's like the boss.
Exactly.
Basically,
Yeah.
He's like the conductor.
Yeah, he's like he
Sort
makes
of.
all the decisions. He kind of like, he
Does all the schedules, like,
he hires people. I mean, I do a lot of hiring, but he'll, he's just He's like he's like our go-to person. So
The point person when we're not physically there, basically.
and
then,
he also typically has the most experience.
and then we have sous chefs below that. And they'll they'll be there like opening the restaurant in the morning, kind of managing all the prep cooks, doing all the ordering. But they're also like, they'll run services at night. They act as like the expediter. I don't know if you're like familiar with what an expediter does, but
No.
So basically in both restaurants, we have 3 hot cooks and then 2 cold cooks. And basically, they're there preparing the actual dishes, but then the expediter is the person that's like taking the tickets and kind of like, hey, I need, 2 salads and 1, whatever, garganelli, kind of orchestrating the whole thing. When you talk about the conductor, that person really behaves as kind of like a conductor during like dinner service
Like
or
air
lunch
traffic
service, whatever.
control,
Yeah,
basically. Moving
totally.
everybody, maneuvering
Kind of directing
everybody.
everyone as to what, plates they need and what time and kind of like timing that out.
Yeah, and then we have prep cooks that prep all the stuff during the day. I mean, people don't realize
Dishwashers,
what is involved
there's
in
so many
running a
different roles.
restaurant and how many
And then
people-
the front of the house too, there's, kind of like a hierarchy. There's the captain who's like the main server, and then there's server assistants that, they'll help like fill water and they'll help like clear tables. Then we have runners that run the food from the kitchen. It's a whole bunch of different.
Like, so how do you get these jobs? Like when you're hiring, right? So to be a sous chef, and the prep cook is underneath them as far as experience.
Yeah.
So you guys start as a prep cook, and then you become a sous chef.
I mean, most of our team members now have worked with us and worked, their way up in that way with us.
I mean, there's a couple
but
different
we've hired
ways
some from outside.
to
Yeah.
go. We really have done a lot with the local culinary school, ICE. Here used to be French Culinary Institute.
I took a class there, a jelly making class, because I make.
jelly making.
Wait,
Yeah, I'm a big
that's
my
so
aunt.
specific.
My aunt.
That's the best word.
I'm a
for
sick
him.
person.
Specific.
You gotta.
He is very specific.
Yeah, another story. A nun friend. I have 2 priest friends here from Italy, and their aunt, who was a nun, came to the United States in the 1960s. It's another stock story we have. And to get the fig tree past U.S. Customs, she tied the fig tree branch to her leg, and she said, "Who's going to look up a nun's dress?"
Yeah,
And
wrong.
that's how she got a fig tree to America. I don't know if that was her cousin's idea. It was her idea.
Smart.
But there's all these fig trees now in America that came up a nun's habit on an American airplane.
Speaking of fig trees, you guys use fig in anything you do?
Not now.
We do, not right like on our current menu,
We
but
have
like
though.
Yeah.
love
Angie
figs.
loves figs.
You know?
I do too. I love figs. And I found out that you can make gelato from fig leaves. I saw this thing in Italy.
Oh, yeah.
So have you done this before?
No, but fig leaves are a very interesting ingredient.
Yeah,
that we,
I was kind of shocked.
like some
so
savoriness.
A friend of ours brought me some. I froze them. And my wife's cousin is an ice cream maker. You ever heard of Bona Bona ice cream? He's all over like Instagram and stuff. He does all the smorgasburgs and things. But he's very like kind of like you guys, very creative, very into taking Italian American flavors and experimenting. And so we're gonna do a fig leaf one with him, and we're gonna try sanguinacci too, the pig blood chocolate pudding that he makes. Have you ever
Oh,
had
okay.
that?
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
you want something good? He makes.
Okay.
He does make the best in the world. I'm convinced. Yeah.
But people actually like it. It's not for the ick factor.
Wait, what's the secret behind it? I feel like there's got to be
It
some
has
sort
to
of
hit a
story.
point.
Okay, I want to know. No.
You know,
English-
sometimes you
English.
got to look at it when you boil the pig's blood I get is from a federal licensed butchering facility. So, because all the Spanish morcilla sausages, pig's blood it's easier to get pig's blood now than ever, thanks to all the South American pig blood sausage people. So it comes in a gallon. It's like $20, $24, and it has an FDA seal on the gallon. So it's blood. It has FDA seal, so you know it's clean. It's like nice and clean and tested and all that stuff. So you got to do a gallon of milk for a gallon of pig's blood.
Okay.
But the pig's blood, when you're boiling it, when you're making the sanguinacci, it hits. I can't tell you when it's there, but you as a chef are going to know. You're going to say it made a transition from a pig's blood and milk to sanguinacci. There's a moment that it all congeals.
Okay.
Because the congealing part of the pig's blood is what makes it thick.
When do you put the chocolate and stuff in all the flavors?
At the end.
At the end.
Whether there's cocoa, I use no sugar. I go to Restaurant Depot, the greatest place. Not that I would plug them for free, right? That's Italian Wonderland. You get big stuff in bulk for like next. What's the Belgian chocolate maker?
Oh,
Lindt
no
or
idea.
something?
Whatever they have big blocks of Belgian chocolate. That's why I have to make it in like gallon quantities to use the chocolate up. But it has like no sugar in it.
Got it.
So you don't have the sugar that you need to congeal it. You don't have more sugar from the chocolate that overpowers it. That's my gift to it. It was the low sugar, almost no
It
sugar.
really is
German.
delicious, I have to say.
Should we have a party? A sanguinacci
We should have a
party?
sanguinacci party.
We talk about it all the time.
the time of year, no?
I've never
Yeah,
had
we'll call. Oh,
sanguinacci.
it's good.
Oh,
We should have a sanguinacci party.
it's delicious. It's something you really have
It's
to
like the
try.
adult chocolate pudding.
Yeah.
It's like that.
It's the most complex and umami chocolate pudding you'll ever have. That's how I describe
You
it.
think it's umami?
I don't know if I'm
I still don't even
totally
know.
misusing
Isn't
the word. I'm
umami
sure.
the taste from the green stuff you get with sushi?
No, that's wasabi.
I mean,
That's wasabi. What's umami?
you guys
then?
taught
It's
me
like-
Umami's
about
MSG.
the,
It's like natural
Really?
MSG.
you
Is that
taught
like
me at
ali's,
the
like
last show
anchovies?
about the ¿cómo se llama? The sauce, the anchovy sauce from Rome.
oh,
Garum.
colatura.
Colatura.
Yeah.
You guys
Yes.
are telling me that that's
Yeah, yeah.
something you use, and
It's
that's
just
an
in the-
umami.
in
it's
the
a hard thing to
lasagna.
It's here, right?
explain.
Yeah.
It's like a savoriness, like a depth.
It's like natural
Kind of-
MSG flavor. Isn't
Yeah,
it
kind of makes your mouth
Parmesan
salivate
cheese
sort of
has
thing.
It, tomatoes have it.
Could I determine it? Like if I taste it, I say, oh, this is what's it called?
Umami.
Umami. That sounds like umami. But I know this is umami.
I mean, yeah, once you learn how to identify like what it is, I mean, it's hard to, how do you explain to someone like what saltiness is, unless they like experience it and really think about it. I think it's that kind of thing.
Is it the fifth? Don't they say it's like the fifth
Yeah,
flavor
100%.
now?
Yeah.
Did we not know that we had umami, but we learned it from the Japanese? Like, we go,
I think we just put a name. Yeah, we put a name.
So they
to
had
it.
a name for a taste we already had. It's not
Yeah,
like
for
we
sure.
got it from
There's
them.
plenty of things that are like, I mean, savoriness is I think a simple way of saying it, right? Like
I always think of it as like something that like elevates. Like I'm not a professional chef, but like when I think of umami, I think of something that like elevates your experience. It's like I don't know, broadens the taste.
But
of
isn't
the
that what
food. I
MSG
can't-
does?
Well, it's like natural
MSG
like-
is like
isn't it?
pure umami.
It's if you
If you think about what that
makes
flavor
like,
is,
I find it,
Makes
it
you, like,
makes like
salivate,
yeah, it
kinda
makes
like-
like the under your ears, like inside of your mouth, kind of like get that tingling.
Yeah.
Oh,
feeling.
that's what that is?
That's what I kind of think it is.
that's what I'm sticking to.
Sharp
as well.
provolone always does that to me.
That's
Yeah.
deep.
Well,
Why
the
is it-
colatura.
Why does sharp provolone make
makes my
your
mouth
throat
itch.
itch?
Yeah, really, it's a great
Wow.
question.
Is
And
everybody
that's
allergic to
umami.
sharp provolone? I don't get
That's
it.
a great question. Maybe it is an allergy. Why does?
Yeah, but you know when you got
Does
that
it make
sharp-
your throat
I
itch?
don't know.
Yeah.
It makes
All the
everybody's
time.
throat itch.
Sharp provolone.
I
Makes
don't know if it
everybody
makes
itch,
my.
right?
I know what you mean by this feeling here.
Does that people not itch when they eat it?
I don't know. I've always itched. I love it.
Yeah, I itch when I eat it.
I think that's why you want to eat more of it. I think it's umami.
I wonder if that's like a thing with like I think cilantro tastes like soap, and my wife thinks it tastes good. And
Well,
they
that's
say
a
it's
genetic
like,
thing.
It's a genetic
That's a
thing.
genetic
Yeah.
thing.
So's the provolone.
I don't know.
I
man.
love the taste of cilantro.
If you're out there and provolone doesn't make you itch,
Yeah.
write us, please. Let
Yeah,
us
I wanna
know.
hear from
We
you.
want to dig into this thing next. That's a great question. I always thought it was universal, but we just did it anyway.
Can I ask you, because you guys are professionals, do you think that raw milk cheeses taste better? You think a raw milk provolone tastes better than a pasteurized provolone?
I think there's more complexity. Yes. We actually were just in Italy like last week and we're tasting cheeses and I was
At
thinking
this
this
farm,
through.
man, they were unbelievable.
Where'd you guys go?
I mean, we were in Florence and like all over Tuscany, basically. But that was in what, Pienza?
Yeah.
So when you guys go, do you research for the restaurant? Are you there like, oh wow, no one's ever heard of this cheese? Can we bring it over for the restaurant? Like when you were tasting that, is that the reason?
I mean, we're always kind of exploring like all different regions of Italy that we haven't been to. Specifically, this trip was we were like kind of hosting a tour with this company, Modern Adventures.
Oh, so you guys do tours as well?
Yeah,
We've done
So-
a couple. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
But
You
we
meet some
usually
great
will
people.
go like to. I mean, we've been to that region before.
Yeah.
Usually, we'll go to new places and kind of explore things. But we specifically went to this farm and we had all these raw milk cheeses, and I was like really thinking about it. I mean, it's the same thing like natural wine. Like, you know, it's not manipulated in a way to taste a specific way and be consistent. So like each batch is like a little bit different. Different. There's like nuances to like, in my opinion. To,
Agreed.
You know,
I agree.
I think raw milk is.
Is it not
Superior
legal
amount.
here, but legal there? What's the like?
New Jersey, it's state by state.
It's
I mean,
state by
New
state.
Jersey freaks out on it. Like New Jersey, you can have all the pot you want now, but a grow the raw milk, and they're gonna like
Stay
go
away
after
from the
you.
raw
I think you could have it in New York City, right?
New York is much more liberal. You think New York, you can get it from the farm, but you can't sell it in a store. In Massachusetts, I mean, I might be wrong, but there's all like, you know how like states have like whacked out liquor laws. Like every state, you never know. Like, you go to a supermarket in some place, and there's like booze to 10 o'clock
Yeah.
at night, and some places it's locked down. And
Yeah.
I think New York, you can buy it. New Jersey, you can't buy it; they'll kill you. They just shoot
But
you.
you can make
that what
salami in New
happens?
Jersey like it's.
But
no
see, you know
problem.
why it's banned in New Jersey? Because years ago, because I mean, raw milk could kill you. But the thing is now technology, we know ways to get raw milk that it won't kill you. Like pasteurization is much safer, but you could really minimize the danger of raw milk through modern technology. The milk lobby, when New Jersey used to have a lot of dairy farms, which they don't anymore, went to the state legislature and said, if you allow unpasteurized milk, raw milk, and there's an outbreak of something, people are just going to stop buying milk because they're just not going to know the difference, and we're going to be destroyed. So New Jersey early on put that rule in. You know who was very influential in the raw milk movement in New York was Robert Morgenthau, who was the DA from Manhattan. Remember for all those years?
No.
His father had been like the first FDA or SEC chairman under Roosevelt. Even though he was like he was a lawyer basically. He had a farm upstate and he had a deep love for raw milk, and he made raw milk accessible in New York. Certain states like Boston, or let's just say Massachusetts, from my experience, it's much more available.
It's funny the things.
See,
that
you know why I ask? Because I got an idea. I have found, I don't want to reveal them here because I don't know if they're safe yet. I don't know if they're safe. I know 2 Italian-American cheese producers who make raw milk cheeses.
Okay.
But I don't know if they're underground. I don't know their status. I don't want the feds showing up
I
and they
cannot
blame
reveal
us.
this
Oh,
information.
it was the podcast. Well, we should do a field trip because you got the palate for
I
it.
would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go testing.
Because one is making mozzarella from raw milk curd. Now, I don't even
Sounds
think anybody
phenomenal.
does that in Italy.
I don't know if I
I
can
think
taste
maybe
the
in
difference.
Naples is
I
it?
mean,
A fior di latte? I don't know. I don't know if anybody's doing it, but this guy's kind of like revolutionary. And there's another guy who makes Gazzagavalla from raw milk. But until we know he's in the clear,
yeah,
I
don't
don't
get
want
anybody in trouble, please.
That's what we need.
That's
Yeah.
like
We
what-
destroyed somebody's
that's all we-
Gazzagavalla business.
No,
Wouldn't that
that'd
be all?
horrible. That's a
We'll go have a field trip. Go up a
I
Gazzagavalla
would love that.
tasting.
I was in Sicily at a cheesemaker with Dolores. This is like 2 years ago. We did like a mini tour thing for some filming social media person that we guided through. And we went to, did you ever meet Melissa Mueller, wrote the cookbook on Sicily? She was on the show.
Those
you
guys would hit it off.
Love her. You guys would be
We're
like,
going to put you
all
on a
the same.
blind date.
Yeah, that-
Her husband and her and you guys
Yes.
together. We're gonna be-
She's a half Sicilian American, half German American, I think, from New Jersey. Was writing this encyclopedic cookbook on Sicily. I mean, it is an encyclopedia. It's amazing. Every ingredient, every bizarre thing we love.
It's already published.
It's already
I
out.
think?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's beautiful. She's been on the show.
What's it called?
It's called
She's a
Sicilian.
She's a
cooking,
brainiac,
something.
this
I'll
lady.
send you
All right,
the
I'll look
link.
into it,
It's
yeah.
fantastic. But she's going to do her research, and she's trying to track down like an ancient varietal of, I think, Nero d'Avola that was wiped out, but like survived in 5 places. One of the oldest vineyards in the center of Sicily. They won't let her in. They won't let her in. Finally, they let her in, and her and the son of the family fall in love and get married, and now she's there. And so she took us around, and they are like passionate collectors of the really unique ingredients of the island. And they took us to a farm that still raises a cow called a Mucca modicana, which I don't know if you've encountered these. They were the ubiquitous
From
cow
Modica?
from Modica all over Sicily until Jersey cows came after the war and wiped them out. And they're not as prolific as Jersey cows because they only create milk when the baby is near them. So like they have to actually milk the cow with the calf next to it. It's amazing. But the milk and cheese that I had on that trip, and they did like one cheese that they did a dried cheese where they wrapped it in the basically scraps from the winemaking from her vineyard. I kept saying, and they kept saying like, help us figure out how to get this into America. I don't know this kind of stuff. But I kept saying to myself, this is one of the most elevating taste experiences I've ever had in my life. And I can't see how it's not something we can bring here to the United States. It was just such a unique experience, but that's oftentimes the case. You encounter stuff in Italy, it just doesn't translate, can't come over legally, whatever, but very much worth the trip, and you guys would love them.
Yeah, it sounds phenomenal.
Do you find you are, right, whether you realize it or not, but do you see yourselves as educators with your books and with your restaurant?
I don't know. I guess I
Tough
haven't really
question.
thought about it.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess we do with the book a little bit. The book really is kind of like a look into the history of our families and stuff too. Talks about Angie's family's bakery. I have my family's Easter pie recipe in there with a picture of my grandmother's recipe card that everything's spelled wrong and you couldn't figure out how to make it, even if So I think that's that's the edge.
We do a lot of teaching, I think, in the restaurant, with our teams and stuff too.
But when someone comes in, the fact that you're defining shrimp parm as an Italian American dish, there's someone who doesn't know that, right? So you educate people. You know what I'm trying to say? Like you're spreading our gospel. Do you guys ever feel that when you're in the restaurant, like when you that people are learning, like the fact that, for instance, the secret of a lasagna is the crispiness, right? The burnt endy thing, right? So you come up, this is revolutionary, right? Number one, aesthetically, it's phenomenal.
Beautiful, right?
You can't eat. I mean, you want to eat it, but you can't eat it. It's
if
too
the
nice
camera
to
can
eat.
see how
It's
beautiful
absolutely
this is,
beautiful.
But, I mean, it's gorgeous. This is it's a piece of artwork.
And you're teaching people, okay, the key. I see, if we can go back into snob mode, to be true Italians in snob mode, you see these horrible lasagnas. People make these monstrosities,
Yeah, it's
right?
brutal.
And it's Velveeta, they grate that cheese, and it becomes like a soupy pie type thing, right? Where yours has this crispiness, right? So you're teaching people, okay, the key, if you want it, because they're gonna eat by you, and then maybe they might take an idea and try to do it at home. Let's try to do it at Don Angie. That conveys that the key to the success of this dish is the crispiness. Do you feel you do that with the books? You give people the stuff that we learned at home, the stuff you learned from your grandmother, the stuff you learned working in the store growing up. Do you feel you're passing that on to people through your work?
I think so.
I mean,
right?
yeah.
We dry all our own herbs, which is something Angie's grandmother used to do.
Yeah.
We just have,
I
That's
hope
a
so.
lot.
I mean, we're both so proud of our heritage and love, for anyone who wants to listen to us talk about it, we'll talk about it. Obviously, not everyone comes to the restaurant because they want to, they want to learn something or whatever, and that's cool. People can just.
But they're learning even if they don't realize it.
Yeah.
I guess my
I hope
point
so. I
is
mean,
I don't
that's
want people to think that we invented shrimp parm, which is what's happening.
Is that
Because
right?
we didn't invent it. Yes, they think people think oh, I've never seen this before. This San Sabino they're doing this dish shrimp parm. I mean,
Yeah, but you perfected it.
I mean, I don't know if it's perfect. It's just
you perfected
it's
it.
just my version of
But you
what
are
it
teaching
is.
people
That's
that you
all it
didn't
is.
invent it, right? So
I try and tell people that we didn't invent this. This thing's available in a lot of places.
There's this woman called Elisabetta Cuomo, and she's a home baker. But this woman is on a different level. She's on a NASA level of baking, right? And she breaks recipes down. And I'm open to change when it's justified, right? So she took a pastiera recipe. I say pastiera, whatever. The pastiera recipe,
Easter pie.
which is but the grain Easter pie,
grain
which is
pie.
that's our Easter Sunday thing. And she said, now traditionally, people would beat the egg whites and fold the egg whites in with the ricotta and with the grain and everything else. And she came out and said, the goal of a pastiera is it's supposed to be succosa, juicy. But the egg whites dry out the ricotta. So she made it without whipping the egg whites and just beating it in with the egg.
Okay.
But then it's juicier. So this long history, this long historical tradition of beating the egg whites, she challenged this. But she came out on top because, in my opinion, the non-egg white beaten pastiera is better than the egg white beaten. But now this seems like a whacked out conversation who someone's not on our page. But my thing is that if you came out and said, okay, like the jumbo shrimp, like if we had always used the small shrimp, if you said the jumbo shrimp is the key to the shrimp parm, that's huge. For us who put shrimp parm on the level of NASA, I'm never going to be on a rocket. I'm never going to go to the moon. But I am going to eat the shrimp parm.
I mean,
I would rather your brains used for shrimp parm than getting me to Mars. And that's my opinion.
I think lasagna eats better like this than it does.
Yeah, that's what I'm
stacked.
saying. Like this is it.
And
And
I think that's one of the reasons why this thing has become such an iconic dish. Not because of the way it looks, I think that's part of it, but because when you eat it, it really does it has all the flavors of lasagna. But lasagna you eat and you eat like a whole pieces and you're just like, oh, this one you
It's
could
rough.
eat
It's
and
pretty
it's
light.
super light because it's not sitting on top of each other, and we don't use and there's no ricotta cheese in it.
that's kind of that's controversial.
This is like an amalgamation
Well,
of Italian American and Italian. Give me your plate. I'll give you a piece.
Ah,
Come
this
on.
is the
What's the
man.
special amount? So what do you use as the? I hate to. It looks so nice. I hate for you to break
It's
that
beautiful,
up.
yeah.
It's probably not super hot anymore, but
So it's like an amalgamation of like an Italian American style lasagna and a like true Italian style lasagna. So it has bechamel in
A
there.
bolognese lasagna.
Right. So it has bechamel in there. It has a bolognese sauce that's made kind of like in the traditional manner where it has like pancetta, it has white wine, it has some milk in there, kind of the classic ingredients. But we switched it up. We put Italian sausage in there, which isn't traditional. We put, like we said before, we put the colatura.
That's like deep,
Who had
Yeah.
the idea for the colatura? Who decided? Like, let's.
and that's the umami.
Yeah, that's the umami.
no.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
know what
we went through a phase. We were just like throwing it and everything. I mean, I think we're still in that phase actually.
Can you tell
but-
me? Am I doing something wrong? Because I studied anthropology, right? So when Roman garum, it was so fascinating to me because I learned about it, really early on. To think that there were still places making, the best we can guess, the equivalent of it, right? In colatura, it's on the Cilento coast, I guess. What's the town that makes it?
It'd be more the amount.
Amalfi Coast. I feel
is
bad.
this
I forget the name of the
I'm
town. But the idea that it's a living fossil, right?
Yeah.
It's an ancient Rome recipe. So I decided after we spoke, I'm like, I'm going to try to learn to cook with this myself. So I got it, and I figured I always put anchovies in broccoli rabe when I make it. So let me try it with this. Does it smell terrible when you cook with it, but taste delicious?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't mess up,
Yes.
right? My wife was like, what are you making? I was like, honestly, I don't know. And like my in-laws came over, and the house smelled like crap, right? Like literally. And then I'm like, they're like, I go, what? We're gonna have dinner with my in-laws, and they're like, why are we eating in here? I opened the windows and stuff. And I'm like, just try this, and it was the best broccoli rabe we ever had. It was so delicious.
I
But
love that smell.
It does smell terrible, right?
If I
It's
could make
got
it a
strong
cologne,
scented
it would.
for sure,
I love
yeah.
that smell. I love that smell. Colatura smell.
You like that?
I love that musty.
Yeah, it's
Dan.
up your alley. All right, I'm gonna dig in.
It's
I'm
not
go-
hot anymore, but
I got a question for
You
you
use
actually
your
about
imagination.
pastiera. You talked about that.
Uh-oh.
No, I mean I don't want to
No, go.
get in the weeds here, but so my grandfather was Sicilian. He made like a rice pie. Is that related to
The rice
the
pie.
one from Naples that's made
Yeah,
with
well-
grain? And then like, what about the Italian American version where it's just like ricotta pie? Like, are
Wait,
those
before
all
you
related?
answer, I-
This is
Sorry,
a whole
is,
other
like getting
episode.
off
I
the
gotta
rails.
tell
I've
the
spent a
audience.
lifetime.
Okay,
No,
okay.
but this
No,
is
you can
good.
answer.
And you're a drug dealer. You're like, don't you want a little crack? No, I can't have
You're like
crack. John
switching
said I
it.
can't have it. Come on, just a little bit.
I
Just a
gotta
little
tell
bit
the
of crack.
audience, though, I love that having a studio because we have these amazing chefs and restaurateurs and bakers, and they come and they bring stuff, and we get to indulge. If you're not in New York City, next time you are, when you plan a trip, just jump and get the earliest reservation you can and come have this because this will
I'm
be.
good. There's no nuts now, right?
This is like the lightest, transformative experience, and I'm not a lasagna guy.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah,
This
right?
is good.
It's
no,
really-
no way. No, this is good.
really good.
This is the left. This is like when you Monday morning after you had it on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right.
When you get up like 3:00 in the morning and you pull it out of the fridge.
Yeah.
Because it's down to room temperature. Those are delicious.
And now you can answer the rice pie question. 'Cause I know you're excited about that.
No, I'm gonna eat. Cause that'll be a 3-hour comment. This is the rice pie. So the grain, because I'm a sick person, and this is what sick people do. They go on these tangents. at 3 o'clock in the morning online. From all the years I've studied this, I think if you pull back to 1850, because with unification, railroads, telegraphs, ideas and recipes transfer more quickly. The grain pie is really a Naples surrounding area thing. Now, as Italy unifies in a cultural sense, it starts to go out to the hinterland. If you go to the Cilento, that area, Salerno, they use rice because Pestum, which was swampy, had rice production back to medieval times. So you use with local. So they use rice because that was what was growing there. If you go into Irpinia, Avellino, the Val di Diano, behind the Cilento, like your area, they made a ricotta pie at Easter that did not have grain in it or rice. Because remember, in the old days, the fasting of Lent was extremely vigorous before Pope Pius X around 1910. And dairy, before the 1750s, like it was banned. So you went from Ash Wednesday to Easter Sunday, you went 6 weeks with no dairy. So you had all these cows and sheep and whatever your dairy goats that were producing babies and they were all full of milk. Oh, we haven't had ricotta in so long. And Holy Saturday, not Easter Sunday, Holy Saturday, you would break the fast at 12 o'clock. And these ricotta products would pop up because that's where the pizza gain comes from, because you were able to use the ricotta. But I confess, I don't know that much about Sicily to make a ruling. Campania I can talk about. But so a lot of these towns had very simple ricotta pies before the war, right? If you may have put some Stregan, and Benevento, I think has a rice tradition too. Parts of Benevento have a rice tradition. But with the prosperity after the war, a lot of people started to add the granin, which was very much the Neapolitan area, because that was what became fashionable. But if you go back to the real old, that's why I argue this in Italy a lot, and we made a lot of progress in the fundamental gastronomics because a lot of recipes here are in amber. So they're frozen from when people left. Yeah. So if you wound up in, because in this really, like, to talk about, your Ohio roots, well, and I love Ohio, but some of the best things about Ohio is some communities are really isolated. So you'll have Italian people that all came from one town that settled in one little town in Ohio because it was a factory. And their Easter pie, the people from Italy come and criticize it. You're criticizing the grandfather because it never adapted here. Mm-hmm. So it's much more simpler here. It doesn't have the same ingredients here because you're making it the same way that someone made it in 1880. They leave it's the same recipes. But I really don't know because Sicily has a cassata. Really was a cannoli, as we would say in Jersey, canul was a carnivale thing. But the cassata is an Easter dish.
But Sicily's been a rice producer since medieval times.
Yeah, I can't.
One of the first parts
I don't know.
Yeah.
For me to say something, I have no
I don't know why,
license.
but
I bet you Melissa would know.
Yeah, Melissa would know.
Melissa would
That's
know.
Where we'll go for
Melissa on the horn.
This is the match made.
You got to go.
Yeah,
We got to do a couple matchmaking. We should do that.
Yeah.
Italian-American couple matchmaking.
That's true.
Because her husband's
like that.
a wine producer.
His
Like they're
family's
like,
one of the oldest
you
wine
guys would like
producers.
geek out all night on wine and cheese.
And this, absolutely, that would be a great trip. See, this would be a research trip.
But you dabbled ricotta. It's not ricotta free.
That's not ricotta. That's
Oh, what is that?
Robiola.
Oh, robiola.
fresh robiola.
Oh wow.
Robiolina.
You dabbled ricotta.
No, but I'm saying like,
No, but I know,
but
but
We do dabble occasionally, not here though. Yeah.
But look at their cheese. But I'm saying is it's not a cheese free.
Oh
dish.
no, there's a lot of cheese.
There's a lot of cheese.
Mozzarella, Parmesan.
Do you ever fight over recipes? Like this is not. I mean, like if it works, it works. But do you ever say like, because you guys are into it, you have like intellectual arguments like that's ridiculous. That is never going. I mean, have you ever like stopped talking for 3 days because that's the most?
talking
Not
for
to
3
that
days.
point. No.
No.
We'll have our disagreements about
For sure.
ingredients sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, productive disagreements.
Are there foods you don't like?
You know, I don't love figs. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Really?
Wait, how do I not know this about
What do
you?
you mean? Because I threw up when I was a little kid and I ate all the fig Newtons.
Oh, dried figs. Yeah, he had a fig Newton experience. I knew that.
I'm
But
kinda
fresh figs you
on
like?
board
Yeah,
with the
I mean, I
dried
don't love
figs.
them.
This is like the newlywed game.
There's
Like 1970s. What do you
See,
mean?
now this is-
So I
yeah,
have
I
this
don't know
weird
how
thing
to-
where I don't love like really, really iodine blue cheese. So I mean, it's not
Yeah,
weird. It's just like
that's
I
fair.
just can't get into it. You know?
Or you mean like the ammonia? type?
Yeah, the really like ammonia, that kind of stuff. Other than that, I mean, I like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the best thing I've ever eaten in Italy, and I ate it again this trip at the same restaurant, is calves brains.
Yeah. We just had sheep's brains. We went to.
We just had sheep's brains.
Where did it go?
Capozzelle.
Villaroma.
Fill with the place upstate, like the Italian.
Yeah, we went
I think
up.
my parents used to go there.
I bet they did. Everybody we've interviewed and talked to has had somebody who went there. I just made a mess.
You never realized.
No, I never.
You never
went.
realized the
But
scope.
he went as a kid, but we went up and they used to do a capucel every Thursday.
Yeah, the head, right? The whole thing.
And they won't. They didn't do it. They don't do it anymore. After the last 3
They did it
years.
for us.
So they did. We had to go source the capucel. Which, by the way, you're in the business. Guess how much a capucel cost?
It's probably expensive, I bet.
Where'd you
right?
go? Because
I went to Arthur Avenue.
okay,
Take a guess.
you know where I used to see that all the time was I used to live in Astoria, and I would see him in the.
Did you pay by the pound or by the
No,
the head?
because they said I said one capucel. They
I have
said
no
this
idea.
number.
$50.
You got to guess?
$80.
$6.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I was shocked. I thought I came with $100 a can.
$6?
I thought it was gonna be something
what a
egregious. I don't
delicacy.
know.
So did I.
Think of how many kids, how many families we could feed with capucel.
This
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Would you ever try that in the restaurant, or would that just?
I don't know.
I get freaked out.
Yeah, you don't see that very often.
No,
It's
you
like-
don't. Not at all.
Yeah.
No, that may be a special.
You gotta do the next restaurant.
Yeah.
All the icky stuff that we like that people who need.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
Right?
right.
Sanguinacci, capuzel.
Yeah. Tripe. People don't eat tripe.
I mean, and then the other one in Florence is the
What? Oh, Lampredotto.
Lampredotto, which is even better than tripe.
what is
The
that?
third
It's the fourth
or the
stomach.
fourth stomach of the.
It's
I've never heard
it's
of that.
much
Yeah.
different. You've heard of Lampredotto, I'm sure. Yeah.
I never
I mean,
heard of
it's-
it.
Ain't it icky?
No, it's good. It's
good?
Really
It's good.
Really good.
Sign me up.
It's like braised.
Why'd you bring this here? I'm gonna eat this whole thing.
Yeah, I
I'm
feel
gonna have
like
one
I'm
more.
running, but I'm gonna go eat
I don't
again.
care.
We're running out of time.
We
It's
can't
time
lie.
to eat.
These people know us.
What? This
That's a
audience?
great thing about meeting listeners. See, that's why, because they already know. You don't have to explain anything.
Yeah, they know.
So you already
we're
know. This
staring at
this
thing.
is like the greatest moment. It's the moments here when you get us or you don't get us. When you had something really good on a holiday, and you have that 4:00 in the morning, get up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best feeling in the world.
That hit the refrigerator. Is this that not
Speaking
that?
of, this is we're like a week before Thanksgiving. I don't know when this is going to air, but do you guys make this on Thanksgiving? You guys still do lasagna for Thanksgiving? Your families?
We actually, we closed the restaurants on Thanksgiving. But yeah, we were just talking about it this morning. I was like, shoot, we're doing it because we're having Thanksgiving at our
Yeah.
place.
And we'll bring some
And
home.
I think we're gonna, I think we'll have it.
Do
You
your
gotta have
families-
macaroni.
My
See,
our
family
family-
stopped doing lasagna on Thanksgiving. We don't do it anymore.
My family always has some sort of pasta before,
Yeah.
a meal. My aunt kind of started a new tradition where she does kind of like almost like a tortellini and brodo type
That's what my
situation.
wife's family
Oh,
does.
really?
Yeah.
It's nice.
You got to fight for the macaroni. You got all these kids in your family now.
What do you mean?
Because
On
what's
my
going to
mom's
happen?
side?
No, you have babies everywhere.
Wait, there's no
You're-
pasta now?
We have no pasta.
Oh,
we have
you
it.
gotta
fix that.
I know.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta
you got to
like
do
we're
something
like-
You
like
guys
that.
do
We're going to
Seven
denounce
fish.
you
Yeah.
publicly. We're going to throw up your house.
Thrown out of my own studio.
You guys do the seven
Whoa,
fishes too, right?
we do a lot of fish. We do.
Yeah.
I do the fish
Okay.
in my family. We ended up. I think we do like 11 or 13 depending on the year now because everybody likes so many of them.
Why
Yeah.
don't we go to Sanza with them? Why don't we go use Sanza Sabino? We'll have a Sanza power
We should
summit.
do it.
No, I want to go.
Sanza,
Sanza
to eat
summit.
our way to Sanza. The Val di Diano you could eat really well.
Yeah, that's true.
I had a piece of bread in Padula. I want to cry. I want to cry. I had two places in my life that I had bread that I really felt, because bread is sacramental.
Right.
God could have come into this earth as anything, but he chose bread and wine. He picked God. God picked bread. That's how bread. That's why bread is an elevated. We went in Matera. We had bread in Matera.
Oh, yeah.
They do like a Christmas Eve in Matera on the eve of the Immaculate Conception, which was also fast and absent. So we kind of got a Christmas Eve right there. We were there December 7th with my brother. It was
One of the best meals I ever had in my life.
But the bread was on a different level. But Padula in the Val di Diano, I had a loaf of bread. It just stopped. I don't.
What was
I
special about it? What-
I don't know. It
Nothing.
was just that
Just-
good.
just
Everything
say it.
about it. The texture, the taste. It was made from sourdough
Okay.
and the local flour.
Okay.
And it was one of those moments I didn't know bread could get to this level. And I just stopped. And I was like, because Padula is right by Sanza, right? Like 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
And we John and I got a lot of connections here. And it was like, so our friend has an agriturismo, his cousin has. So we went to the agriturismo. And everything was like wow Italy. The pastas were wow. Everything was wow. But I just got and I didn't expect it. I took that piece of bread out of the bread basket. And I didn't realize I had like a nuclear bomb of bread in my hand. And I bit it, and I was just stopped. It was ecstasy. It was like it was an ecstasy moment.
I wasn't with you for that one, but the meal we had in Matera was off the charts.
Off the chart.
It was one of those nights where like we had lunch yesterday. There's a great restaurant, a Spanish restaurant across the street here. Really nice place. And we went and we ordered like for 15 people. We finished it all. Just me and him for hours just catching up and doing stuff. Like that's how we go
This
to
is
Italy.
so
So
good.
we try everything on the
Wherever
menu.
you are in America, you got to come to New York for
Yeah,
this.
please do come to New York.
No, really.
Yeah, I mean it. It's true.
Because we get people ask us all the time, where to eat in New York? This is where you got to eat in New York.
Let me ask you guys a question before we wrap. Your restaurants are really hard to get into, right? How do you deal with that? People just bug you and ask you all the time. Like, what do you say to people when they're like, how can I get there? What's the answer?
So I think Scott and I, to a fault, are like, we'll just kind of like dole out our personal info. We're like, please, whatever. So now we get, 20 text messages a day or whatever, and we're like making reservations. But to be honest, but the way it works is they go live 7 days in advance on Resi.
7 days in
at
advance.
9 a.m.
Okay.
7 calendar days, right? Is that how you say it?
What's the
Yeah, but it's
what's
tough.
a calendar day?
Like, so if it's
like
for
Saturday
and Sunday
Monday,
included?
it's going to be,
Like today was what's today? Tuesday. So today
Yeah.
Monday. It's
Go-
you know what I
Got
mean?
it,
Like
yeah.
if you count the actual day.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
But yeah, it's tough. I mean, both restaurants are tiny. San Sabino is smaller than Don Angie, so there's just like limitations to like, how many people we can physically fit in there.
Yeah.
Both
And,
take walk-ins.
Yes, we both.
every day.
The bar at Don Angie is fully saved for walk-ins. Part of the bar at San Sabino is saved for walk-ins.
And
That's the best. Yeah, that's like honestly, people from out of town. That's what they'll do. They'll come and wait in line right before we open, and 9 times out of 10 we can
You can accommodate
get them in.
That's
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
And room for lunch at Don Angie on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, which is much easier to get into.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the same menu as dinner. There's just 2 dishes that aren't on the menu. And then the same thing with San Sabino, open for lunch Wednesday through Sunday, so even 5 days.
That's
So,
great.
Yeah, and those are much more accessible.
And we didn't really talk that much about San Sabino. Like we do a lot of handmade pastas there. I mean, it's a really unique and fun menu. I know like Don Angie's kind of established itself, and people want to go there, but there's
What do you do
lot
on
of
the,
really
on the
wonderful
San
things about the
Sabino? Like,
restaurant.
this is creative. What do you have that's different on the Sanza? Like a new
We do
creativity?
the one dish I love there, which is it is a crazy dish, and it is taken. We call it steak il magazzino, which is named after a restaurant in Florence, Il Magazzino, and it's a steak It's a take on a steak we had there, which was breaded and had anchovies on it.
Oh, that sounds.
So
you
we
had me at breaded
do a
steak, let
similar
alone
thing
anchovies.
there, but we do it almost like Japanese style. The steak, so it's like katsu style.
What does that mean?
It's the way you put
breaded and
It
then
sounds like a dirty
served-
word in Italian.
It's breaded and it's served like medium rare. So
Yeah, and then we
Oh, wow.
serve it with like we do like you know what chili crisp is? It's like a crispy.
it's like a
typically-
crispy chili oil topping
Typically
with
served
with garlic.
in Chinese cuisine.
Yeah.
We do kind of like a version like that, but we put a bunch of colatura and anchovies in it and pine,
Pine
nuts.
nuts.
So we make it and Italian chilies. We use Calabrian chilies and stuff in it. So we make like an Italian version of that and put it on top of the steak.
And then it has like a tangy raisin puree underneath
Yes.
too. So it's like the raisin pine nut pairing, which
And
I
it
This isn't because of my own illness. But why pine nuts? Do they actually add?
oh shit. Sorry.
I felt bad. She
Can
brought
I
the
not even
cookies.
speak the
Oh, you know
word
about
in
the
your
cookies.
presence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you knew about the cookies?
Assassination
I
attempt.
told him I came
it off.
clean. I had to tell him.
No,
I
no,
didn't know till I
no,
saw
no,
the
no.
sign.
I'm
and then,
telling you why I asked about the pine nuts. Because to me, I never had. I mean, every time I've had them, I almost died, so I don't know what
Yeah.
they taste like. But I'm gonna make believe an almond, right? There's the pine nut. What I'm saying is, when you for this sauce, I call it a sauce. The
Sure.
working name
Gotcha.
are the pine nuts a textural thing?
It's textural,
or is
yeah.
it a flavor thing?
It's
It's a little bit
both.
of both. Pine nuts have a really nice, strong flavor.
Yeah.
One day I'll find out.
Are you all nuts you can't eat or
No, I can. I could eat. God, thank God, I could eat a truck of almonds, pistachio. I could eat anything.
They're not related, right? Like pine nuts,
No.
they come out of a.
Yeah.
If I have
Point,
if I
yeah.
have like the grit of a pine nut, I'm dead. I got 2 EpiPens on me all the time. If you want to kill me, you got the recipe right now.
I know. We know some people who have tried.
Right. Some people
We
have
do.
tried. I
Ever
somebody
hear
in law
of
school
pine
did.
nuts and galamad?
Wait,
No,
have you heard of
that's
that?
weird.
Oh, that happened.
That was assassination.
What? It was
assassination
100%. You know you're out
Had
there.
fried galamad. You know who you are. Fried galamad. But my brother's like my service dog. So you know how when
He
you sniff
sniffs them
stuff,
out?
like
Yeah.
he's like. So my brother's with me. And John and I we're all at this table. John's wife is there, and I have a piece of galamad with pine nuts on the galamad. I put it into my mouth. And my brother's like, "No!"
I
knocks my
never in my
hand
life
out.
have I seen slow motion. I saw in slow motion him just jump over the table and knock it out of his hand.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It was like a movie. But yeah.
But the reason I ask is that because I love this. I love that you guys are like scientists, right? So you're using Colator, you're inventing things, right? So I'm saying like now there's raisins in there too.
there's like a raisin puree under the steak.
Why do you not leave them whole? Is it a texture thing?
So a lot of like steak sauces have, I don't know, things like raisin or like, sometimes apple, like things like that is like a base to the flavor of a steak. Yeah, for acidity, but also like the flavor. Also, like traditional katsu sauce has.
It still sounds like an Italian dirty word.
Yeah, all right.
No, that's cool. No, I'm saying because everybody's gonna go home and that's gonna be the word. Katsu sauce. You should sell this commercially. Katsu sauce.
But yeah, that's where like the idea of making a puree. It's kind of like katsu sauce or like a steak sauce kind of vibe.
Steak sauce,
but like pine nuts and golden raisins, they're golden raisins, by the way, are like a traditional pairing
Sure,
in
that's back
in
to
Italy.
the Romans.
Yeah,
That's been around.
Is that right?
So that's kind of how it.
Oh yeah.
There's like
there's
a Noriana sauce is also
It's
like
like you put them in beccafico and stuff like
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
and meatballs.
Yeah,
My family
meatballs.
was a
Yeah.
pine nut
Sicilians
raisin
are-
meat. I destroyed
I
that.
don't know
Big
why
on that, yeah.
I played dumb on that.
I never got the pine nuts and meatballs kind of thing. I don't know. It's a little weird. to me.
really.
I don't like the texture. I don't like them the texture
they're, like,
in a meatball.
steamed.
Do
Do
you
personally.
know
Yeah.
why? Because meatballs, before the gravy tomato sauce came about, they were served with scatol.
Oh, interesting.
So you'd braise scatol and then you'd throw the meatballs in. So scatol goes with scatol traditionally had a raisin pine nut connection. So when you had a little bit of leftover meat, because meat was tough back then to get, because it was sparse, it was a holiday thing. They would have that's what we have fundamental gastronomics. There are families left in the Sorrento Peninsula who still will make scatol with meatballs, little meatballs and pine nuts and raisin.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
No.
This is so much
For
fun.
the third restaurant, then there you go. You can have capuzel, you can have scroll and meatballs. You got a menu.
The menu's
building
done.
right here. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
done. But I appreciate you going through with us the ways people can access this wonderful work you're doing, because
This is
it's
such a great
intimidating.
book.
Fine restaurants, good restaurants can be intimidating. You guys are not intimidating, and I want the audience to understand. Like, if you're coming to New York, 7 days out, give it a shot. 2 great places, or stand in line, get there early, and get yourselves a walk up. But most importantly, get the book.
Go out. No, really, this book is fantastic.
Yeah,
Look at
it
this.
is.
This book has, especially for new married couples, young people who didn't grow up cooking. It's like,
Oh my God, I mean,
it's
look
so well done. Because look, you have the macaroni making here, like it's step by step. This is a fantastic book. And like we said, when everybody comes on here, you have to take your hand and put it in your wallet, and you got to buy multiple copies.
Yeah, give it out.
Because if you want to preach the gospel, you got to buy the books.
Yeah.
Because Italian American restaurateurs, authors, writers, academics can't publish books if you're too cheap. I know people get offended, but we're not people to book. We're not people to book. Like, they look at it, they'll take a screenshot picture of a recipe, and they'll go home. No, really. Go out, get one for you.
Yeah,
And get Christmas is coming up.
it's true.
Get 10. Give one to everybody in the family.
Give it out.
It's a great stocking stuff. If you stretch the stocking, it will fit in.
Sorry,
It's
yeah.
a great book. We got to become people to book. We
love
got to
it.
support
We
our
love the book.
yeah, we have
keep
to.
it here in the studio.
All
That's not-
the people we
yeah.
come on. We've had a lot. We've
Yeah.
really been heavy on books.
Yeah.
Right? But this is a fantastic. I don't think you're going to have anybody who's not going to say, wow, you're going to buy. It's better than fluorescent colored socks they're never going to wear.
My wife
They
said
get
sock
on
business,
sale.
so I can't.
I think it's a
opine on that,
fantastic
but yeah,
book.
I cannot
it's-
speak to that.
Yes, it may be better than socks.
Because you know what I found when I was looking through this? All your recipes are accessible. That you can actually make this at home.
That was part of the goal with
Yeah,
the
correct.
book.
Yeah,
So,
it was. That's the conclusion I was going. We finally met in person after talking online and stuff, and you guys have a wonderfully, wildly successful, public-facing. I use the word brand, but you're really nice Italian American people, and I think that the audience, I want them to know that. So if you want to
Go out, buy, support.
and have something really, really good to eat, and we're going to finish this one. So we hope you guys have
I
enjoyed.
wish
this
you were here, but
conversation.
I'm glad that you're not. 'Cause that means more for us.
More for us, absolutely. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Be great. See that you're born in
Da, 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 da.
If you want your life to be great, see that you're born an Italiano and your life will be great. See that you're born an Italiano and